This is the January meeting of the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District Board. At this time, I'll remind the board members to silence your phones or electronic devices, and we're calling our meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Barnes.
Here.
Chaplin. Here. Delgado.
Here.
Fasella.
Present.
Hannon.
Here.
Nudo.
Here.
Dial.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll approve our agenda for today's meeting after your review.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve our agenda for today's meeting. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Look for some audience participation, and I don't see any. So we will move on to our next item, which is the approval of our minutes from our open session board meeting of December 7th, 2022. Motion and second.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board meeting minutes from December 7th, 2022. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Next item is communications. Carl, any communications for the board? Anything the board wants to share? All right. Our next item will be the managing director's report. Carl.
All right, thank you. In your board packets, you have statistical information for both November and December, since we had a combined board meeting. I am not going to go over the November sheets, though. I'm just going to go over December, but please look at those at your leisure. But as Brad mentioned, since we have a fairly packed agenda, I'm just going to concentrate on December. And December, we had 556,970 rides, and that is up 11% from the previous December. And you can see that if you move on to the next screen, just doing, year-to-date ridership, yeah. Year-to-date is up 12.5% from year-to-date last year, and then the next screen kind of does the 4-year display that we've been looking at recently, just to show where we were pre-pandemic, and then the recovery from the pandemic. And while that is slowing, as we would expect, it still is recovering, so that's good. Moving on, the December operating revenue was 9.1% above the previous December, and year-to-date operating revenue was 6.4% above last fiscal year. The operating expenses were 6% above December of 2021, and year-to-date operating expenses were 6.4% above the previous fiscal year. Our operating revenues were $844,000, almost $845,000 above budget, while operating expenses are $3.2 million below budget. And with that, I have some notes in the next couple of pages, but I'm going to, like I said, keep this brief, and I will just take any questions that you have through page 60 of your board packet. I guess I'm sorry. I would note real quick, we did put, and we updated it on the website, but we put some updated route performance reports in front of you, and we emailed those to you. We had an inadvertent error in the original publication, and so you have those updated forms.
All right. Any questions for Carl on his report or any of the other information? Up to page 60. Al. Actually, Bruce. Hey, Bruce.
Why is it so?
Bruce. Bruce, look over here at me. I'm going to go with Al. Al's going to ask a first question. Okay, thanks.
Just a quick question on the balances. The bank balances on between November and December. It's a $3 million difference. Is just in and out, or
what page are you looking at?
Page 59 and 60.
I imagine it was just cash flow for end of year vacation and earned time payouts, but fortunately we have our finance director here who I'm sure is just ready to pounce on a more specific answer.
Pounce is a good word.
So we have had some large expenses. We're working on paying some buses. So on page 49, there's a $536,000 to New Flyer. Let's see here. And then there are, of course, our RMRF payments, health insurance. The other thing you'll notice, too, is that we have moved the money from Morgan Stanley.
Yeah.
It's up now at Prospect. But I would say it's mainly just expenses and projects and things like that, but I can look into it in more detail.
Just trend or just a year-end thing that, large purchases?
Yeah, since we have a fiscal year, the calendar year end doesn't impact us as much, except for, like, as Carl said, I mean, people are on vacation in December and that type of thing. But without pointing to some of the larger projects, I'd have to look at more detail.
Bruce? Bruce, what'd you have for, go ahead.
The ridership. You said it's slowing down, and you'd expect that.
Well, yeah, in case you couldn't hear that, he asked why we expected the ridership recovery to slow down. I think just in general that we had a very quick bounce back early on because we went from, everything being shut down to the campus opening back up and businesses opening back up, and so there was just a big jump. And then after that, where the recovery ratio is just going to slow down because we already got the majority of that recovery back in that one fell swoop. And in addition, we're only at 80% of our service level, and so we're not expecting to recover to 100% of our ridership, because if we do, we're in big trouble because we don't have capacity on our buses to accommodate them. And so that has a chilling effect on recovery. The university is still allowing departments to make their decisions on staff working from home or coming in. So my wife's department, you can take up to 2 days and work from home instead of working in the office. So that's going to have a chilling effect on ridership. So there, and other businesses are doing things like that too. So there are these things that are just not allowing us to get all the way back. Primarily, it's our service level, and that's okay, in our opinion.
That's the employment issue.
Sorry?
That's employment. Hiring enough people.
The reason you're asking if the reason we're only at 80% of our service is because of employment. That's correct. We have a driver shortage still. Yes.
Any additional questions for Carl? Up to page 60. Go ahead, Phil.
I'll just throw out there, I'm impressed you did this photo, and it's nice to see you've got work boots on and not dressed up in a suit like everybody else. I have a lot of respect for that, Carl.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Phil.
All right. With that, we'll move into the first of our action items for today, which is, according to the MTD bylaws, the chair and vice chair positions are elected from the Board of Trustees for a one-year term at the first regularly scheduled board meeting after January 1st. As previously approved by the board, Beth Brunk is the secretary of the board and Amy Schneider is the treasurer. These terms are indefinite as the board takes action until the board takes action to the contrary. I open the floor for nominations for chair.
I nominate Brad Deal.
I'll second that.
I'll accept any other nominations for board chair. Seeing and hearing none, I will close those nominations and we will take a voice vote. Actually, we have to do a roll call, I think. Roll call, sorry.
It's okay. Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin. Yes. Delgado,
Yes.
Vasella,
Yes.
Hannan,
Yes.
Nudo, Dial.
I'll abstain. That motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is the nomination of a vice chair.
I nominate Margaret. Second.
Are you going to accept that nomination? Margaret will accept. Any other nominations for vice chair from the board? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close nominations. This time we'll have a roll call again, please.
Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin. Delgado,
Yes.
Fasella,
Yes.
Hannan,
Yep.
Nudo,
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. Thank you, Margaret. All right, our next item is our semi-annual review of closed session minutes. And that was pages 60 and 61 in your packet, I believe. Sorry.
I would move that we adopt the motion that's suggested on page 62 of the packet.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry. All right. The recommended action, the suggested motion is that the minutes of the closed session meetings that are listed on Schedule 1 marked release are no longer required to be confidentially treated. Those are ordered released. That the need for confidentiality still exists in the minutes of the closed session meetings listed on Schedule 2. Those are to remain confidential. And that the verbatim recordings listed in the closed session minutes Schedule 3, all of which are not less than 18 months old, and all written minutes that have been approved are authorized to be destroyed. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Okay. We'll take a roll call on this, please.
Barnes,
Actually, it says we can take a voice vote on this. I'm sorry. Voice vote on this item. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, that is our last action item for this section of our meeting. At this time, we will move to closed session to consider the purchase or lease of real property for use by MTD. That's a motion. I'll need a second. It's been moved and seconded to move to closed session to consider the purchase or lease of real property for use by the MTD. Roll call, please.
Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin. Delgado,
Yes.
Fasella,
Yes.
Hannan,
Yes.
Nudo,
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, we will be in closed session for a few minutes, and then we will return to take further action later after we've come back from closed session. All right. I have 3:27 p.m. Wednesday, January 25th. This is the MTD board meeting for January. We're going to take a roll call vote to come back into open session from closed session.
Barnes,
Here.
Chaplin. Delgado,
Yes.
Fasella,
Yes.
Hannan,
Yes.
Nudo,
Yes.
Dial.
Yes. Our next action item is item C, which is a purchase agreement for 1209, 1211, 1213 East University Avenue in Urbana. Carl, you want to give us a brief go over on that?
Sure, I'll repeat just a little bit what I did in closed session. These are three parcels that we are just collectively referring to as 1209, and the intention is to, when we've secured funding, we will expand the maintenance, storage, and perhaps body shop on these parcels. So we met, boy, I don't even remember when it was, but we had a closed session in our maintenance department a year or so ago, and kind of walked you all through the storage constraints that we had, and so we identified the need and found these properties and have negotiated a purchase agreement with the sellers, and that's what's before you to consider.
Thank you. Any questions or statements from the board on this item? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I do apologize. I did notice that there was a reference to Board of Directors in the proposed contract in front of you. I've corrected that. It's been changed to Board of Trustees.
Okay.
Now, you don't have that copy in front of you.
Okay.
But if you are going to do a motion, then just include correction to Board of Trustees.
Okay, correction to the agreement, okay.
Yeah.
That did come up in discussion yesterday that was in there, so. All right, well, then we will be voting on this contract as amended per our attorney. Motion and a second, please.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to enter into an amended purchase agreement for 1209, 1211, 1213 East University Avenue. Roll call, please.
Barnes,
Yes.
Chaplin. Delgado.
Yes.
Vasella.
Yes.
Hannan. Nudo.
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, that motion carries. That was our final action item for our open session today, actually our final action item, period. The next regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees will be Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 at 3 o'clock right here at the Illinois Terminal. At this time, we will be ending our open session and moving into closed session again. I'll ask for a roll call on that, please.
Mr. Chair, before that, can I report back to Mr. Nudo's question quickly?
Absolutely.
On page 56, it shows that the expenditures in December, some large ones were Lyons Electric for $292,000. That was the 803 solar expansion. And there were two large invoices to New Flyer. One was $536,000. The other was $1,073,000. And the other odd situation we had in December is the state did not bill us for health insurance in November at all. They had a software issue, so we paid both November and December health insurance in December, and that was almost $1 million.
Thanks for the prompt response.
Thanks, Alex, for your assistance with this. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Question. It is an honor to serve. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. All right. Go ahead.
How far along are we on the solar installation in terms of getting electricity from it?
The question is how far along we are on the solar installation. Are you talking about the expansion on the 803 building, the maintenance building?
Across the street, I thought that's what this Lions thing. Lions Electric.
I'm not sure what line you're talking about. If you're talking about the one across the street, the sanitary district solar array, that is completely installed and operational. We still have not signed off on the station. I am hopeful that we're getting close to doing that. We have had a couple of hiccups here and there. A water line froze when we had that week of really cold temperatures around Christmas, and so we've had to repair that, and the Trillium, the company that is the aggregator for that project, is installing a heat line to keep the water from freezing in the future. And so there are a couple of things like that. That's just an example of a hiccup. So we still haven't signed off on it.
And that's supplying all the electricity that's needed for the conversion of getting the hydrogen out of the water?
That's correct. We harvest more electrical energy out of the solar array than what the electrolyzer will need. Even once we've expanded the fleet last month we just ordered 10 additional hydrogen fuel cell electric buses, and even when we get those, the electrolyzer will produce enough hydrogen for all those vehicles, and the solar array harvests enough solar energy to provide electricity for that electrolyzer.
Excellent.
All right. So at this point, we'll need to take a roll call to move into closed session to consider the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, and to consider deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and to consider the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a public official followed immediately by adjournment. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, did we have a motion and a second?
I don't think we did. I think we jumped right past that. How about a motion and a second to move to? Moved and it's seconded to move to closed session again. Roll call.
Barnes?
Yes.
Chaplin? Yes. Delgado?
Yes?
Fasella?
Yes.
Hannan? Nudo?
Yes.
Dial.
Yes, thank you. Does anybody need any time to jump up, or everybody okay? All right, I've got 3:35 PM on Wednesday, the 25th.